I often get asked, Myra, how do you stay consistent with your budget? And we're going to talk about that on today's show. Stay tuned. Hola, hola. Thank you so much for being here. I am so excited to talk about how you can stay consistent with budgeting because this is where it gets hard. See, we've already talked about how to budget. We've already talked about the steps to get out of debt. But how do you keep doing that forever and ever and ever? See, you have to have a very strong why, and you need to know where you're headed. And those sometimes change. So you have to be very methodical and very strong with those, and you need to reevaluate them periodically. See, your why could be your kids, but your what could be your retirement. See, you may not want to leave any burdens on your kids, and you want to leave them financially stable, but you also need to take care of yourself. And so prioritizing your retirement could be your what you're doing. And then just making sure that you keep your kids safe from any hardship is your why. So having those really clear. And for me, honestly, that has evolved as when I first started in my debt-free journey in 2010, my children were under 10. It's changed. It's evolved. It has been, it was just, I wanted peace at first. That was the stress of having a home that we could not afford and having just constant bills. Our income wasn't very high and just everything was just a lot. And if you're feeling that way right now, I want to encourage you. This is when it's even more important to budget. When you feel like you don't have enough money, that's when you need to budget the most. Recently I heard someone tell me, when I have enough, I'll start budgeting. And it's like, no, it's not when you have enough. This is the time you need to make those decisions in advance. You see, when you make a budget and you are looking at all the things that you have to pay, and at the very top, it's your income. And you start subtracting and subtracting all your necessities, your housing, your food, your utilities, your transportation, and maybe clothing. If you start deducting the most important things, most people have enough to cover most of the necessities. It's all the extras, all the things like a credit card or all these other things that are not your priority. And honestly, if you know that you can cover things to live one more day, to survive one more day, you can fight. But it becomes really hard when you know that you can't pay XYZ credit card because you simply don't have enough money. Then you make that decision, you own it, and you are not surprised when the bill comes and you've already decided that that's not going to get paid right this second. That can wait. Because food's more important, because housing is more important, because utilities are more important. And that's that. See, when you can make decisions in advance, you are most likely to have less stress. And this is all about managing stress because we all know what stress can do. It can hurt your health. It can hurt your mental health. And it's just not productive. I remember when I was stressed, I had a hard time working. I couldn't focus at work. every waking hour, I would think about the stress. I would be driving and I'd make sure that I had loud music going because my brain was just constantly fixated on how am I going to make this work? How am I going to make the numbers work? And sometimes the numbers don't work. But there is peace in knowing and making those decisions in advance. And that's what I want you to know. See, budgeting is a plan. It's simply a plan. Are you going to follow it to the T? Maybe. I've never been able to follow anything to the T. Whatever I plan at the beginning of the month, at the end of the month, I've made a whole lot of changes. Happens to me every single time. But consistency in making your plan is going to get you out of whatever hardship you're feeling. You have to do that. You have to do it consistently. You need to find your why. You need to find your what you're trying to achieve. And if you don't have enough, you need to know what the plan is. And don't let your current situation dictate anything that's going to happen in the future. The future is going to be there. And honestly, it always gets better. See, when you are conscious of your money, if you're planning it, if you are reviewing the numbers regularly, you are going to make better and wiser choices. You just are. See, if you avoid it and you think, oh, I'll figure it out. That's like the number one thing that I would say. If you are saying that, stop. Stop it. That is a definition of insanity. You are not going to figure it out. You need to be wise, make the decisions in advance, and know what's happening. It's very important that we know what's happening. Don't be in denial. If your spouse doesn't want to be a part of the conversation, then you at least have an awareness of what the situation is. If you can make payments to your debt, great, do it. If you are in a situation where you organize everything, but you just can't stay consistent, ask yourself, why? Why am I having trouble staying consistent? Who can I partner with to keep me accountable, to check in with me? Who do you trust? And maybe you need to reach out to that person and say, hey, can you ask me every week if I've done my budget, if I've reconciled my budget? Can you ask me at the beginning of every month if I'm ready for the next month? You see, when you have accountability, you are most likely to succeed as well. So it's a lot of little things, right? If you set yourself up to win, you are most likely going to win. And the same goes for the opposite. If you don't plan, it's like you plan to fail. So get that budget done. It's so important. And with us being so close to the holidays, start planning for those. We're only a few weeks away from Black Friday, from Cyber Monday, from all the shopping that happens. And we need to be wise with our money. And maybe right now we start deciding, you know what? There's going to be $20 gifts. Or there's going to be no gifts. Honestly, that's okay. It's okay to not have any if that is not an option. That's very hard for some people. But there's no shame in that. There's no shame in that. If you are ready to get your finances in order, I'm here to help. I'd love to be able to help you through how to manage your finances, how to put a budget together if you've never done one, and I'd love to hold you accountable. If that's something you're interested in, make sure you contact me. And I'm also on IG at debtfree.latina. So make sure you follow me there, and I'll see you next week. See you later.